Good day, everyone. So, camera ready to go whenever you want? Or all set to go? Okay. Good day, everyone. My name is Staff Sergeant Major David Chan with the Burnaby RCMP. I'd like to thank everyone here for joining us today. Before we begin, the Burnaby RCMP recognizes that we are in the ancestral and unceded homelands of the Hunkaminam and Squamish-speaking people, and we are grateful to be on this territory today. Again, I'm Staff Sergeant Major David Chan. With me today is the Commanding Officer of BC RCMP, Deputy Commissioner Dwayne McDonald. Also with me, he will be speaking today, followed by the Officer in Charge Burnaby Detachment, Chief Superintendent Graham de la Grandier. That will be followed up with comments from our Mayor from Burnaby, Mike Hurley. We will then take questions from media. Without further ado, sir.
Thank you for coming. Deputy Commissioner Dwayne McDonald, I'm the Commanding Officer of the RCMP in British Columbia. It was with deep and profound sadness that I must advise the public today of the homicide of Burnaby Constable Shaelyn Yang that occurred this morning in the line of duty. This is an extremely difficult and tragic day for the BC RCMP and the members of Burnaby Detachment. I've spoken with Acting RCMP Commissioner Brian Brennan, and he's kindly offered all his support that is necessary. It is also with deep sorrow that I stand here today with Burnaby's Officer in Charge, Chief Superintendent Graham de la Grandier, to announce this terrible news. I join with him and the Commissioner expressing our heartfelt condolences to Constable Yang's family, extended family, friends, and colleagues. Constable Yang lived in Richmond, and she was an active volunteer. She started her career volunteering part-time in the city of Richmond and later full-time in that city. In 2019, she became a police officer in her Dept in June of that same year. She graduated in December as a member of Troop 8 and was posted to Burnaby Detachment. She was a loving wife, a sister, and a daughter. Those she worked with before joining the RCMP and her police colleagues described Constable Yang as a kind and compassionate person, which makes her death even more difficult to accept. As to the investigation, there are a few details that we can provide at this time, but what I can tell you is this. At approximately 11:05 a.m., Constable Yang, who was partnered with the Burnaby bylaw officer, was engaged in her duties at a homeless camp on Gilmore Way. An altercation took place, and Constable Yang was fatally stabbed. Emergency responders attended the scene, and despite their best efforts, Constable Yang succumbed to her injuries. The suspect associated to this file was shot and injured. They remain in hospital with long, life-threatening injuries. I can also tell you this. Constable Yang died bravely. She answered the call to duty today, and she paid the ultimate price. The Independent Office of Investigations is now investigating that incident, and a concurrent investigation is underway into the murder of Constable Yang, which is being conducted by the Integrated Homicide Investigation Team. As a commanding officer of the BC RCMP, I can tell you that an on-duty death is the most difficult and heart-wrenching incident that we have to deal with as an organization. Each and every day, our police officers say goodbye to their loved ones, and they go off to work to serve their communities with commitment and dedication, as is the case with Constable Yang and her compassion for the community and the people that she served. I also want to thank the many police leaders who have offered their condolences and support, and for those agencies, police, fire, paramedics, ambulance, doctors, everybody that assisted us today and continue to assist us in our time of need. The loss of Shaelyn will be felt by many. Her death impacts her family, friends, and the RCMP family, and the community that she so passionately served. Her loss is immeasurable. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'd now like to invite our Officer in Charge, Chief Superintendent Graham de la Grandier.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Chief Superintendent Graham de la Grandier, Officer in Charge of Burnaby RCMP. Standing here today, speaking about the impact, the line of death duty line of duty death of one of our members is probably the most difficult thing I've had to do in my career. Loss of Constable Shaelyn Yang is immeasurable to her family, her friends, to all her team members and colleagues, and to the greater community here in Burnaby and across the country. While I cannot speak to the details of what unfolded this morning, as the circumstances are being investigated by IHIT and the IIO, her death while on duty and in service to our community is both senseless and tragic. Constable Yang worked with our police mental health and homeless outreach team, where she was a valued member. She was compassionate and caring, and she brought those skills every day to her job, working with our community's most vulnerable, including those experiencing homelessness and mental health issues. Working with mental health and homelessness can be challenging, but Shaelyn embraced that job with passion. She found value working with this team and working with those struggling in our community. Resources are being put in place to assist Constable Yang's family and loved ones, her colleagues here at Burnaby Detachment as well. We're all struggling to come to terms with this tragic loss. The hours, weeks, and months ahead will be difficult, but to our community in Burnaby and across the country, we thank you for your outpouring of support. We know we are not alone in our sadness and grief. I'd also like to thank the neighboring police agencies who responded to this incident today and who continue to support Burnaby RCMP to ensure that detachment operations continue and that we are able to still serve the public while we deal with this grief and loss. Constable Shaelyn Yang will always be remembered. Her service and sacrifice to our community will never be forgotten.
Thank you very much, sir. I would now like to invite the City Mayor of Burnaby, Mike Hurley. Your Worship.
Thank you. And on behalf of all of City Council and all City staff, I want to express how devastated we are over today's events and the loss of a Burnaby RCMP member in the line of duty. Our thoughts are with the officer's family, friends, fellow RCMP members, and civilian staff during this terrible time. I know that people all across Burnaby, as they learn about today and the tragedy of today, are shocked and saddened to hear the news. RCMP in our community put their lives on the line every day to keep all of us safe. And we owe them much gratitude for those sacrifices that are made daily. As mentioned, city staff were at the park when the incident occurred, and the incident has left them deeply shaken, and we will ensure that they get all the help they need. Earlier today, I joined a meeting of our park staff, and we let them know about all the supports available and how we are going to be with them all the way through this recovery period. City staff works side by side with RCMP every day, and I know they will feel this deeply. Finally, I want our RCMP partners to know that you have the city's full support as we move through this tragedy together. Anything we can do in the coming days, we will always be here for you, so you can rest assured of that. You know, the tragedy for first responders and with police and the other first responders, always the worst thing that can happen is when a member shows up for duty in the morning, he doesn't go home in the evening. And it's going to take all of us, RCMP, all the members, a long time to recover from that. But we are going to be here and walk shoulder to shoulder with them during this period. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Worship. At this time, we'll be opening up the opportunity for questions, though there'll be some answers that we can't provide due to the ongoing nature of the investigation. At this time, I would like to ask you to please identify who you are and who you'd like to speak and direct the question towards, please. Yes.
Sorry, we're hard to hear back there. Constable Yang worked as part of a member of the Mental Health and Outreach Unit here at the Burnaby RCMP Detachment, and she was in the regular course of her duties at that point in time.
So she wasn't called to the location, she generally visited that location regularly?
That's correct.
And was this person known to the police then?
I don't have that information at this time.
Yes.
Andrea, can you confirm that it was just the one tent and one person who was in the area at the time?
The investigation is still continuing right now, but those are the circumstances as we know it right now. Further, subject to furthering the investigation, but that's the circumstances as we know it today.
I think we're just trying to clarify the language a little bit. The language used today was homeless encampment, and we're just trying to get a sense, is this like one tent on its own, or was it a group of tents?
The way it's been described to me, and I haven't been up there myself. I've been dealing with family members and other staff members, but it's not described to me as an encampment at all. That's not an accurate description.
And just to clarify, any charges yet? Is this person in custody?
That will be up to IHIT to advance that investigation, and I'm not aware of the circumstances of where that is right now. So.
Can you please spell the officer's name?
It's Shaelyn, Shaelynn, and Yang, Yang. She was working with a City of Burnaby employee, Parks employee. There was one police officer there.
And how soon?
Once again, that'll all be subject to the investigation, and I'm not privy to the exact details on that. But it was described to me as a very dynamic situation.
And can you speak to the extent of the suspect's injuries?
I cannot at this time. I understand they're seeking medical treatment at this time, and there's some serious injuries that are being taken care of right now.
And neighbors we spoke to said that they had noticed the tent for a few weeks being there. Had bylaw or police been called to that location previously?
I'm not aware of those details right now, so I can't answer that question.
How soon after the incident did backup arrive?
I can't give you an exact number of minutes, but I understand it all unfolded very quickly. She was by herself with a City of Burnaby employee.
In her capacity as mental health, is it normal for her to not have RCMP partner?
Officers conduct duties all the time, sometimes with partners, sometimes on their own. And we'd look at risk assessments for the types of duties that they are doing. And unfortunately at this time she was on her own. So it's not abnormal, but there's a ongoing risk assessment that would have to take place.
Is there any update on the city employee that was with the police officer?
Of the city employee?
Yes.
I understand that they're physically okay, healthy right now.
Can you just give us more details as to what this was actually involved in terms of, was this something that the bylaw officer initiated with the person in the tent, and what exactly was the nature of this bylaw issue to start with?
Yeah, those details I'm not clear on. I haven't been briefed on those yet, but I suspect that they're all going to come out as the investigation advances.
Did the officer arrive with the bylaw officer at the same time, or the bylaw officer called for assistance?
It's my understanding that they arrived at the same time, but I'm not certain on that. Yeah, so I think that's we misspoke on that. I think it's a parks person, so it's a City of Burnaby employee working in the parks area. My understanding is not a bylaw officer, but once again, that's, as the investigation unfolds, all those details are going to be brought to the front.
I may have not heard you, but did you say that Constable Yang, did she die on the scene or did she die on the hospital?
She was transported to the hospital and pronounced deceased at the hospital. So I I guess you can take it for what that is.
Okay, and
Yeah.
I've also heard from some witnesses that a taser was deployed too. Do you know anything else?
I don't know the details on what sort of force options were utilized at that time. Oh, that's a good question. And 31. She's 31. Just under 3 years of service with us, and fairly new into this career as a police officer. But by all accounts, was very, very good at her job. Fellow employees loved working with her, so it's a big loss.
Sorry, you said that she
Yeah.
was living in Richmond. Where do you know where she was from originally?
I don't know. Yeah.
How's the family coping?
This is a huge loss for them. It probably just as you imagine it. It's to have somebody suddenly taken away from you is it's a big deal. So,
Do you have any details on who made that 911 call?
I don't. No. Come on.
All right, I'd like to thank everyone again for attending. There'll be further information that we will release when available and when appropriate. At this time, if you have any questions that you would like to speak to someone in French perhaps, we do have our media officer available, Sergeant Chris Manceau, who could answer questions in French as well. Okay?
I don't have that statement just yet. It's been translated.
So-
I can come forward and say that. I don't have that French translated statement just yet. It'll be here momentarily. I'll let you guys know. Cheers.
Are you able to answer some questions for us in French now?
I'm just waiting for that statement. That way I'll have all of the details. That way I'm using the right terminology. So it should take just a couple of minutes. Cheers.
Thank you very much for attending. Appreciate it. Thank you.